Hello, my name is Dave Lane. I am a faculty member in psychology at Western Illinois University, and I'm also the coordinator of the General Experimental Psychology graduate program here. And I would like to take a few minutes this evening and tell you a little bit about the General Experimental program, as well as answer any questions you have about that program. This is a 2-year master's program where courses are taken on campus in the Macomb, Illinois campus, which is located in west central part of the state of Illinois. In addition, it does include a master's thesis, which is a capstone independent research project that students complete under the mentorship of a faculty member. I guess before I say too much more about what the program is, it might be useful for me to tell you a little bit about what our graduates often do after they leave here at Western. About 50% roughly of our graduates do go on to doctoral programs in psychology or related fields. We find that doctoral programs are really interested in students who already have some experience in graduate school. They have shown that they can do the sort of rigorous academic work that graduate school requires. And doctoral programs also like applicants who have more research experience. And that's true even for doctoral programs that are more applied, such as clinical psych. We have had graduates go on to a variety of doctoral programs in social psych, clinical psych, neuroscience, cognitive psychology, forensic psychology. It really runs the gamut, and they go to a variety of institutions around the United States. Just thinking of recent graduates, we've had people go on to doctoral programs in psychology at University of Delaware, Penn State, Oklahoma, Nebraska, Iowa State, UNLV, North Texas, Wayne State, a variety of different places. And so we're quite proud of the fact that our students are very competitive in getting into doctoral programs. Now, of course, not everybody who graduates from our program wants to go into a doctoral program, and that's okay. Many of our students do go on and immediately enter the workforce with their Master of Science degree and are quite successful there as well. Some of the most common things that people do right after graduating with this degree, we have a lot of people who have used the statistics and research skills they've learned in graduate school in order to go and do positions as data analysis, market analyst for companies as well as consulting. We've had people who have done institutional research for universities where they're helping the institution make data-driven decisions. In general, we find that in the 21st century, companies are increasingly looking for people who are comfortable working with data, who are not afraid of statistics. And you don't necessarily have to be incredibly sophisticated in terms of your statistical skills. The exposure you get in doing data analysis in our master's program has stood a lot of our graduates in good stead in terms of the data analyst positions they've ended up doing. We've also had graduates who have gone on to teach at community colleges, and in many cases this has become a full-time career for them as a community college instructor. We have had graduates who have gone on to work at larger universities managing research laboratories at large doctoral institutions that are research intensive. Investigators often have a very large lab and they need help running it. And we've had some of our graduates who have gone on to do that as well. So students who graduate from this program can do a variety of different things that are really relevant to psychology or research or data analysis. And I think the reason our graduates are so successful is because because of the structure, I guess, of the program, the intentional way we have structured the general experimental program. Kind of the name general experimental gives you a sense of the two facets of the program. General psychology, we strive to provide you with a deeper grounding in what we think are some of the foundational areas of psychology. Students will take courses in social psych, in lifespan development, in neuroscience and cognitive psychology. We also have rotating seminars that students will take on specialized topics such as evolutionary psychology or social cognition or other aspects of developmental psych. The other piece is we really place a real premium on research, and in particular on students doing their own independent research, sort of following their research passions to develop an idea from idea to study to running the study, analyzing the data, presenting at a conference, or even writing it up as a manuscript for publication. From your very first semester in the general experimental program, you'll be encouraged to work with faculty on research ideas where you have an idea and you can hopefully find a like-minded faculty member, and the two of you will work together. Learning how to become a better researcher is very much a mentorship type thing where our faculty will mentor students so that they learn how to do research, and that begins as soon as you get onto campus. You start working one-on-one with faculty members with the hope that during that first year you complete what we informally call the first year project, that by the end of the first year you should have a data collection project that was really your own idea, so that hopefully subsequently you can submit that to a conference. And in fact, our graduate students do regularly go both to regional and national psychology conferences to do presentations and posters. Students will regularly go to the APS, the Association for Psychological Sciences. The Midwestern Psychological Association meets in Chicago, which is just a few hours away. Students regularly go there. And students also go to discipline-specific conferences related to the Society for Neuroscience or Society for Personality and Social Psychology, just as two examples that spring to mind right now. Both the university and the department do offer a little bit of funding to help offset the cost of travel to conferences as well, because we really recognize that it's not enough just to do research. You want to build your vita as a beginner research, which means presenting that research at conferences. In the second year of the graduate program, your attention really turns to doing your master's thesis. And so this is an independent research project that you do under the mentorship of a professor. You also have a committee of faculty who you work with, but primarily there's one person who is your mentor who helps you develop this project, from proposing it to running it to ultimately writing up the thesis. And that thesis is a really high quality research experience that looks good on a graduate school application, obviously, or a resume if you're interested in doing any sort of research focused career after you leave us. In terms of some of the nuts and bolts of the program, the psychology department here does offer graduate assistantships on a limited and competitive basis. These assistantships for first-year psychology students are essentially 13-hour a week paid positions. They include a small monthly stipend, but the big advantage is that graduate assistants get a tuition waiver, meaning they don't need to pay tuition. You still need to pay student fees, and you may have to pay for health insurance, but the bulk of the cost in terms of tuition is covered once you're a graduate assistant. Now, these assistantships are limited in their number, and for that reason, it's really to your advantage to apply early. We have what we call a priority deadline of February 1st. And what that means is after February 1st, we start reviewing applications and making decisions, both in terms of admissions, as well as in terms of who we might offer graduate assistantships to. And so if you can apply by or near the date of February 1st, that increases the likelihood that you would get the possibility of being offered an assistantship. Having said that, we continue to review and admit people after February 1st. And so I would certainly encourage you to apply, even if you're viewing this a little bit later on in the year, or if you don't feel like you are able to get the application in by February 1st, which at the time of this recording is only 2 weeks away. We do continue to review applications, and we get many good applications that do come in after February 1st. But again, the sooner you get it in, the greater the likelihood that you would be offered a spot with us as well as an assistantship. If you're interested in applying, what I would encourage you to do is make your way to WIU's homepage, wiu.edu. Look for the Apply Now button, click that, and then click Graduate Student. And that will take you into the Graduate Studies portal where there's an application that you need to fill out. In addition to the application, you are required to submit your transcripts of all the higher education institutions you've attended. We also require you to take the general GRE, not the subject test, but the general GRE, which includes verbal, quantitative, and analytic writing. You need to have 3 letters of recommendation from people who can speak to your ability to be successful in graduate school. As well as a personal statement or essay where I would suggest that you focus on your past experience as it might be relevant towards your ability to be successful in a psychology graduate program, as well as what your professional goals are. In other words, why you want to be in this program, what you hope to do with the degree. If you do have questions, this would be a great time to start typing them in the comment bar, because I'm part of the reason we're doing this live is to give people an opportunity to ask questions. And while you're contemplating that, I guess I will say that one of the things I like about this program, one of the reasons that drew me as a professor to this program, is that Western Illinois University is a medium-sized university where both teaching and research are valued. And that's really important for a potential graduate student. We don't have any doctoral students here, which means that master's students get a lot of high-quality attention from our faculty. Because teaching is so valued here, the faculty who come here, they like students. They want to be with students and help students reach their full potential. At the same time, research is also important at this institution, and the faculty here continue to maintain active research programs in a variety of different areas. Just off the top of my head, lifespan development, neuroscience, social psychology, personality, cognitive psychology, quantitative psychology, forensic psychology. We have clinical psychologists as well as school psychologists as well who maintain active research programs and regularly work with general experimental psychology graduate students. And so it's really a place where master's students can really thrive, both as students as well as beginning researchers, and that's something that I really enjoy about this program. We try to foster a collaborative environment where students are encouraged to work with a variety of different faculty. And we think that's really healthy, really good for students as well, that you can see research from a variety of different perspectives. I think at this point I will pause, and if you have any questions, now would be a great time to type them in, and hopefully I will see them, and I can give some comments. Any questions out there at this point? In terms of some of the facilities that we offer for research, we do have a human subjects pool. We have many students who take introductory psychology, and as part of that course, they can participate in research. And so we have a pool of human participants that graduate students regularly are able to draw upon to do their research. We also have animal care facilities in the building, so that if you take more the animal model approach to research, then you are able to do research with rats. So we have the ability to have colonies of rats, take care of them. There are different types of mazes. There are surgical facilities. If you want to do neuroscience research with humans, we do have ERP, event-related potential technology, that researchers do as well. We have a variety of rooms and facilities to do research, but I think most importantly what we offer is 22 full-time faculty who continue to be excited about research and working with students. I am just pausing right now. I don't know how many people are with us, just to give another chance. If you have any questions that you would like to pose. And I think what I'll also do is I will add in, okay. Question, what is your area of research? In terms of me specifically, I am trained as a social psychologist as well as a health psychologist. A lot of my research has looked at sort of the social psychological foundations of health-related behaviors. I've done research in the past, particularly related to substance use and abuse, such as binge drinking. More recently, I've been getting involved in what is sometimes called positive psychology, looking at areas such as how self-control or a sense of purpose in life can be useful in terms of psychological well-being and motivation, ability to be successful among college students, for example. So those are some of the areas of research that I do. But again, we have 22 faculty members with a variety of different research areas. Other questions? I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to, before I leave today, make sure to add my email into the posted comments so that you can contact me directly if you want to. So one question, do students ever get to present at conferences or publish with faculty? Absolutely, and we really encourage that. My perspective when I'm talking with graduate students is part of why you're here is to really build your vita. It's great to do research, but it's even better if you can present that research. And so we have students who every year go to conferences. In about a month's time, for example, I'm going to be going to the Society of Personality and Social Psychology, SPSP, and two graduate students are also going to be there from the program presenting research that they've done while they're here. We regularly have students who go to APS, as well, Association for Psychological Society, which very often is in Chicago, including this summer. Chicago is also home of the Midwestern Psychological Association, and that's a very well-regarded regional psychology conference. Chicago is about 3 to 3.5 hours away by train from us, and so we have students who go up every spring and present at that. We do offer some funding to help offset that, the cost of travel and lodging, so that you don't have to pay everything out of pocket. The funding is limited, but students are able to get some costs covered. And we encourage students to submit manuscripts, and students regularly do that with faculty members. Just as an example, speaking only for myself personally, just last week I submitted a manuscript with a student who graduated last spring, where she is the first author and I'm the second author, and it's actually based on her master's thesis, and a lot of other faculty are doing the same thing. Question, do students get funding for travel or research materials? In the department, we have some funding for travel. Currently, graduate students can get $200 to offset travel. At the university level, there are competitive grants specifically for graduate students up to $500 that can be used to offset either travel or research materials. And our students every year apply for those and are very competitive in getting them. And in the past, students have used those to fund trips to conferences, to purchase equipment, or in some cases to pay participants to participate, to purchase testing or research materials, a variety of different uses. So absolutely, yes. The funding is not guaranteed, it is competitive, but many, many of our students have gotten that research and travel funding over the years. What else can I answer if anybody's out there? This is a great question. What types of undergraduate experiences make an applicant competitive for a slot in your program? I guess one thing I'll start by saying is we really take a holistic approach to looking at your application. It's not just about GPA, just about GRE. Those things are important, but they're not the only thing that we look at. And it's certainly possible for a high undergraduate GPA to offset a slightly lower GRE score, and vice versa. In terms of undergraduate experiences, we really like to see students who have some type of research experience as an undergraduate. In some cases, that could be you doing your own original independent research as an undergraduate, for example, such as an undergraduate honors thesis. But it doesn't have to be that. We have a lot of applicants who have served as research assistants or volunteers in faculty members' research labs. And that's a great experience as well, because it really does show that you're interested in research, and we are very much a research enthusiastic, research-focused program, and that's certainly something that we are looking for. So that would be probably the #1 undergraduate experience that we are looking for, which is that research background. But again, if you have not done your own study yet, don't worry, because many students who apply and are admitted are not, but some research experience is good. Beyond that, any sort of psychology-related experience that shows some sort of interest or involvement in psychology, such as active membership in Psych-I or Psych Club, would be very valuable. We've had applicants in the past, very successful applicants who have worked in crisis hotlines or other sort of human services type positions as well, which really do show an enthusiasm for psychology. And that is absolutely something that we are looking for. Another question is, what is something that do I admire most about the experimental program? That's a thought-provoking question. I guess one of the things I really like about this program is the diversity of research interests that our faculty have. No matter what your research interests, there's probably something pretty close to what you're interested in here among our faculty. We have 22 full-time faculty. We have, in addition to the general experimental faculty, we do have both clinical and school faculty who are active researchers and do regularly work with general experimental students, serve on general experimental master's thesis committees. We have social psychologists like myself who have studied theories like prototype willingness. We have social psychologists who have studied social exclusion and the need to belong. We have faculty members who study evolution, who study emotion regulation, who study behavioral analysis. We have two faculty who emphasize forensic psychology. If you're interested in psych and law, cognitive psychology, there's a variety of different interests. And so you can really find someone here who probably has some overlap in terms of research interests. So that is something that I really appreciate about this program. Another question is, what are some of the labs in the experimental program? And so faculty members work with graduate as well as undergraduate students in a variety of different ways. We have labs that are more focused on clinical psych and substance abuse. We have a lab that looks at social exclusion. I work with students lately particularly related to social comparison and related social psych processes, as well as purpose in life. We have a lab related to the study of psychology and legal issues. We have faculty who do have neuroscience labs and work with, for example, the cognitive side of neuroscience, memory and Alzheimer's, just as one example. We have faculty who do more straight cognitive and have done research with eye tracking software. So that kind of gives you a sense of kind of some of the things that faculty and the students they work with do. Another question, when do students typically start working on their thesis? Again, a great question. The advice as the coordinator that I always give to students is, your first semester on campus, don't worry about it all. Just focus on getting yourself grounded in graduate school. Start working on your own research interests, but you don't necessarily have to be thinking about your thesis yet. What you do want to do in your first semester is start doing research if possible. By the end of the first year, however, you should have a general topic in mind about what your thesis is, as well as a person, a faculty mentor that you want to work with, the person who will become the chair of your thesis committee. It's great at that point if at the end of that first year, at the end, you can actually start working on your thesis in terms of doing the literature review. And many students will often have a little downtime in the summer, will often start working on their lit review, their introduction section during the summer between the first and second year. It's in the second year that students really do the heart of it. Ideally, by the time you get to campus in fall of your second year, you already have a leg up. You've already started to do some of the reading and writing involved. The idea, the goal would be that by the middle of fall semester, you propose your thesis. And so the first step in doing a thesis is a proposal where essentially you write the introduction, the method, and the expected results of your study. You share that with your thesis committee, which is made up of 3 faculty members, and you also give a talk, which anybody in the department can attend, where you describe your study. Very often that sounds kind of nerve-wracking to students, but the real purpose of it is to make your research better. Research is a collaborative process, and we often find that as a result of the proposal meeting, students' studies get better, and that's really the goal of the proposal meeting. So ideally, by the middle of fall semester, you propose your thesis, you start collecting data, and then in spring semester of your second year, ideally, then you would defend your thesis. You would write the full thesis, the intro, the method, the results discussion, revise it until your thesis mentor says it's ready to go, and then have a defense meeting with your committee again. So that would be kind of the typical timeline that students do their thesis. It is meant to be a 2-year program. So generally what students will finish spring semester of their second year. Sometimes students will continue to do a little bit of work in the summer of their second year, and technically then they would graduate in August, but it's still a 2-year program, and that's really the goal. That's what students want, and that's what we want for students. Other questions? Question is, what is the city of Macomb like? So Macomb is located in the west central portion of Illinois. The town itself, according to the census, has 20,000 people. Now, Western Illinois University itself has somewhere between 6,000 and 7,000 students. It is a small town, but because of the university, there are a lot of amenities in terms of different types of restaurants and things like that. That said, it is a small town. It is not an urban environment. However, we are driving distance to a variety of cities. Peoria and Springfield are both larger cities in the central Illinois region. And we do have Amtrak that comes through twice a day, and both students and faculty do regularly go and take the 3.5 hour Amtrak ride up to Chicago as well, whether that's for professional reasons like the Midwestern Psychological Association, or for personal reasons to go to a Cubs game or whatever. I guess some people like Macomb. Some people find it to be a challenge to live in a small town. My advice, if you feel like you might be worried about moving to a small town, is keep in mind that you're in graduate school. It's a limited time. It's a 2-year program. And you can be happy anywhere, but also unhappy anywhere. And so I think it's very possible to make a good 2-year life for yourself here in Macomb. Many students have done it. They've come here because of the psychology program. They make friends in the psychology program. Sometimes they stay in really close contact with faculty after they leave. And that really is what the program is about. And Macomb can certainly contribute to that as well. Another question is, do the cohorts form close bonds? And so we work on what we call a cohort system. Every year, the general experimental program will admit somewhere between typically 5 to 8 new students, and those students will take a lot of courses with each other over the course of those 4 semesters and get to know each other very well. And my sense as a faculty member is the answer is yes, cohorts do tend to form really close bonds just because they are taking so many classes and often doing research together. Very often in their second year, people in the same cohort will end up being roommate or apartment mates with each other. So generally there is a real sense of that kind of that bond that does form. Probably the best way to answer that question, however, would be for you to talk with a current student. And so I really encourage you, if you're really thinking seriously that you want to learn more about Western Illinois University's General Experimental Program, the best thing would be for you to talk to a current graduate student. And if that's the case, I would encourage you to get in touch with me, and we can probably figure out a way for you to talk with a current graduate student and really learn the truth, I guess, about what it's like to be a grad student here in the psych department at WIU. So give some thought to that and get in touch with me. Again, before I leave this live event, I will make sure to put my email address in the posts so you can contact me later. Other questions? Well, I do want to thank you for logging in, whether you're looking at this live or looking at it later when it's saved onto our Facebook page. And if you have further questions about general experimental psychology at Western Illinois University, I certainly encourage you to get in touch with me. So I'm just going to type in my contact information. I've added my email. And at this point, again, thank you very much, and do not hesitate to get in touch with me if you have further questions. All right, goodbye.